And we are live. So, welcome to episode 211 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got the Ryan Daly. What's happening, man?
Not much. 211, robbery in progress.
That's it. We've got down here at the bottom right, we've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us for yet another Christmas flick.
Sure.
And we've got John K. Alvarez, a.k.a. Santa Dude. Singing Jingle Bell Rock. You should have Jingle Bell Rocker on there or something like that.
Yeah,
from the movie.
I thought about that, but John Cougar Mellencamp has a copy written, so I didn't want to replace that
Really?
dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
interesting.
So, this will be the final Christmas movie of the season. Next Monday is Christmas, and we're just going to take the fucking week off. I may have some relevant content things here and there going, but people have shit to do and families, to spend time with. So, we were thinking about doing a fourth movie, but I think this is sufficient.
Let's end on a high note.
I think we would have been okay with some of the other, flicks, especially, considering Fat Man. But yeah, it's Christmas, and let's just, take some time.
Gotcha.
It's noteworthy to mention my thanks to Walk the Cinema podcast, who at some point was moving, married couple, Caitlin and G. Out of their in-laws' place into their own place, and had an enormous Blu-ray and DVD liquidation sale, which they sort of privately reached out to a couple people, and they were giving away or for pennies.
Oh, very cool.
The first two Lethal Weapon movies. They didn't have 3 and 4, and I got a couple of other things from them, but it was nice to have this today because I hadn't watched it like Batman Returns in about 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been a very long time. And John would remember this. In our circle, the Lethal Weapon films were mega popular.
Yeah.
So back in the day when they first dropped, and this dropped in 87, and then I think in 89 or 90 when the second one dropped out, I probably saw each of them like a million times. The proverbial million times, because if it wasn't on HBO, then, we had it on VHS, or you were going over somebody else's house who was just renting it for the first time, or you were going over somebody else's house who was watching it for the 500th time, or, at some point in the 90s, oh shit, I haven't seen this in about a year, and you pop it in. So that was the Lethal Weapon way. They were the hottest fucking movies for the time.
Yeah, man, they were awesome. I think the first one I saw, I think was the third one, and then I went back and saw the other ones. It was on like HBO or something, and then I went back. But I have the 4 movie set. It's got all 4 of them on there. But I haven't cracked them open in a while, so
Well, it was nice to see this because I watched it this afternoon to prep for the show now, and I was a little concerned just on general principle. I'm like, what if I pop this in and I don't like it? Like, what if I don't like it, but what if it's just
weapon?
Well, let me finish. What if I pop it in there and it's just kind of played out? And I'm just like, I'm not watching it. I'm looking at my phone. I'm, checking what's going on out the window. I recognize everything. I know it line by line. And I just had something on Twitter where I didn't get much feedback, but I said that The Hobbit, I said it's a hot take, but that the Hobbit movies and the Lord of the Rings movies were played out. I said, because we know them all line by line. There's after 20 years was just 20 years of Return of the King this year. Yeah. We know every piece of information has been extracted from those, in my opinion. So I said that they're played out. So I was a little worried, like I was with Batman Returns last week. Like Batman Returns last week, though, I was wrong, and I thoroughly fucking enjoyed Richard Donner's Lethal Weapon. So
you
guys
gotta get it through your head, Mike. You gotta get it through your head. This ain't Invasion USA.
Well,
Lethal Weapon.
That's unfortunate. Let's just get it going, shall we?
Yeah.
So what I was saying in the notes before, John, what are you doing?
I'm dancing to your music, man. It's the end of the year. I love that song. Do, do, do. I was just trying.
All right. Wanted to make sure you weren't having a seizure. I saw Ron Paul do that one time in the middle of a live stream. It fucking freaked me out.
Oh my God! I thought when you were
he did. He had he was in a live stream, and the man's talking to him, and he's just in the middle of something. And all of a sudden, he just had a fucking seizure, and like the other man on the stream, like, was Mr. Paul, are you okay? You know, and like they had to stop the stream, and I'm like, what the hell is John doing? All right. It was like was Prince of Darkness, where you're reaching through the mirror. That kind of thing. John, what are you doing? All right. I'm reaching through the mirror.
Leave the mirror alone. Christmas movies past, man.
Yeah, it's like Donald Pleasance. He just throws the fucking axe at the mirror at the end. So here's my thing. And I've said this for a long time. I think this is a better movie than Die Hard. I think Die Hard gets all the smoke. I got no disrespect for Die Hard. I may actually watch it on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. When I was living, when I had cable, I think IFC used to run a 24-hour Die Hard, just like it was like 3 hours with commercials, and they would just run 24 straight hours of Die Hard, just like other channels would do with A Christmas Story. But I think that this is a better film than Lethal Weapon. I think it has a better cast. No disrespect to Alan Rickman. Rest in peace. Because I think it was a masterclass by Alan Rickman to just be a completely different kind of criminal.
That was actually his first movie.
Yeah.
He just jumped in with both.
All right, it's Ryan's turn to do.
Well, yeah, okay. So that was enlightening.
You froze, Ryan.
Yeah, you froze.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, I said that was Alan Rickman's first movie, Die Hard. He just went in with both feet. Yeah.
Well, I think it has a better cast. I think it has a better story. Shane Black wrote a hell of a fucking story here. This is like a really sort of, for an action movie, this is a very kind of complex flick. I mean, it's not Arabia. Don't misunderstand her. Don't misunderstand me. It's not, Zeffirelli's Jesus of Nazareth. It's actually, I love Zeffirelli's Jesus of Nazareth.
Actually, so do I. But
yeah, so I have it on DVD. It's like 6 hours long. I have no problem watching it every year.
Jeez.
I do watch it every year, Easter.
Do you really? God bless you. God bless you. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. But I mean, and you've got a way better soundtrack. You got fucking Clapton for people that are old enough to know who Eric Clapton is.
Clapton.
I know Clapton.
It's got a blistering fucking soundtrack. Let's start off with John, and then Ryan, and then go to Eric.
Okay.
Is it better than Die Hard? And there's no wrong answer unless I kick you off.
I think, Mike, what it is that you're trying to me, and this is my only opinion on this, is that it's comparing apples to automobiles.
Okay.
No. Die Hard is a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I like Die Hard. This is different. One of the things that I noticed about it, especially going over it again and doing a little bit of research and catching some reviews, because when I had it on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. I saw it on HBO. I saw it on Showtime. I wound up watching it today on AMC Plus. I mean, it was like I've seen it, and I saw it in the movie theater twice. Where back in the days, I remember when Mel Gibson and Danny Glover were doing commercials for the movie.
Oh wow!
They were both turning around, suddenly say, "Hey, we're in the theater. Why aren't you?" And they were showing these were commercials that they were doing back then. But I also remember the fact. I mean, I jokingly said about it's not Invasion USA, but it's only as a joke in the fact that there were a lot of action movies coming out, and you had people like Mel Gibson, who was a Vietnam veteran who was coming back and dealing with. That wasn't like this. You had all that, but there was so much more.
Yeah.
And it was so much deeper with a very thin script. I got to read an original copy of the script from a writer friend of mine who works out in Hollywood. It was a short script, but there was a lot of action. This is the testament to these two gentlemen. It's the testament to Richard Donner and the way they presented this and put a little bit of depth in what could have been a very good traditional action movie. Type deal. It's so much more than that. Type deal.
Ryan, what do you got? Is it better, same, worse? Is it apples and automobiles, apples and oranges?
I kind of am on the same. I agree with John. You know, it's a different movie. It's got heart to it. You know, I mean, it's got you care about. I mean, yes, not that we don't care about John McClane, but it's a different like Die Hard is nonstop, just action from beginning to end. Boom. There's no real downtime. You know, there's no spot. You don't really get to know a lot of the characters. It's just boom, 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 boom. Now I have a machine gun, ho, ho, ho. But in this, you spend time with Murtaugh's family. You spend time with Riggs. You know, you get and what I like about these movies is that you have that familiarity throughout all of them. It's like greeting. It's like with Lethal Weapon, I feel like you're hanging out with your friends. You know, that's how Riggs and Murtaugh kind of come off. Like you're hanging out with your buddies. Whereas Die Hard, you're just watching a movie. You're watching John McClane kick all kinds of ass. But in this, these are like your buddies. These are guys like you might know, you know, or something like that. Or you can relate easier, I think, to Lethal Weapon. So story-wise and character-wise, yes, I think it's better. I absolutely adore Die Hard. It's one of my favorite action movies, one of my favorite Christmas movies. Sure. But this is it is good. I'm glad that it's different. I think Richard Donner, you know, also Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, but Donner had a lot to do with that too. Because if you look at his movies, Superman, The Goonies, okay, these movies have a lot of heart to them. You actually care about the characters. You can relate to them, you know, and it comes through in this.
All right, Eric, what do you got?
Yeah, it is kind of like apples and oranges. I'll say this. Die Hard is better if we're looking for a more fun action movie.
Yeah.
But Lethal Weapon is definitely the better movie in terms of acting, directing, and story.
Right.
So I think the problem is mainly Lethal Weapon is overlooked because now Die Hard has kind of become a parody, in my opinion, because instead of talking about how great Alan Rickman is and how fun Bruce Willis is, it's now this, you know, isn't a Christmas movie bullshit. You know what I mean? That's kind of like overtaking it.
Become a meme.
There's actually a billboard near my house. There's actually a billboard, one of those digital billboards, this huge billboard. I see it coming on work. It says Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
That's a waste of electricity.
I don't know what the business is, but it says Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yeah. The argument is getting bigger. I jokingly sent a thing from YouTube where Bruce Willis about 10 years ago was getting the Comedy Central roast for charity. And he came down and said, I only did this so I can actually get on a podium and say Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. It's an action movie. Stop pussying me out, which I kind of laughed at. But I passed it to some people, and I had more negative feedback on it. I'm going, dude, it was a joke.
Well, people, that's how it is nowadays. People are just stupid. You know what I mean? Plain and simple. There's no way to sugarcoat it.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Well, it's true because you got to nitpick and find something about, you know, anything to argue. I agree. But
this movie,
you have the cast, you have the story, you actually care for the characters. When you're first introduced to Riggs, he's got a gun in his mouth. You don't see that nowadays, and you probably can't see that nowadays.
Yeah,
you can't even say, and I'm going to say it. You're not even supposed to say the word suicide.
Right?
Yeah, that would get flagged on here.
Like I watch reels on like
nobody's watching here, so I
watch reels on like Facebook and stuff like that, and they're allowed to say fuck. They're allowed to talk about sex, like graphically, but if you mention death or suicide, it's bleeped. Right? That's just how it is nowadays. But this is definitely the better made movie. 100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And there is a depth to it.
Yeah.
With everything.
You've got, I mean, for me, when we talk about Die Hard, and I don't want to spend time talking about Die Hard because we're talking about Lethal Weapon. No, because I asked the question. But I think over time, Die Hard has become like an action comedy.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's become an action. And maybe it always was. I don't know.
A little bit.
But
I could see that.
Here, I think you've got a master pairing between Gibson and Glover. Because Martin Riggs is played to perfection by Mel Gibson. But it doesn't work without Danny Glover playing the straight man.
Yes,
like if you just had crazy, Martin Riggs running around doing all kinds of crazy shit, it wouldn't be the same if you did. And Danny Glover's like a real cinematic actor.
Oh yeah, me and my wife, we love watching The Color Purple, mainly because of how scary Danny Glover is.
He's so evil. He's so fucking evil.
One of the most
like long-term villain, like lifelong fucking evil bastard. You're just like, holy shit.
Yeah. The movie he did right before this was Witness.
Oh yeah, he's playing a bad guy in that
People
too.
keep forgetting that he was great and didn't really say a word.
Yeah,
but he was like that pursuing evil.
Kevin Costner movie, right?
No, it's
that's Harrison Ford.
Okay,
and
where he's in with the Amish people.
An Amish kid witnesses him.
Yeah.
And it's but Danny Glover
kills the guy in the bathroom.
Villain, or team of villains, and he doesn't say a word. But God damn it, he's menacing.
Okay,
he was also in remember Places in the Heart, John?
Yep,
with Sally Field. He was helping her as the black guy, and the Klan ended up running him off.
If I'm not mistaken, he was nominated for an Academy Award for that too.
Another one I liked him in. It flew under the radar, but he was a scary, sick bastard, and that was that movie Switchback.
Oh yeah, with Dennis Quaid.
Where he's got the car full of like the porn and all that
stuff.
Yeah,
he's got this big, huge Cadillac, and it's plastered with like pornographic, like Hustler. Like the whole fucking interior of the car is nothing but like Hustler cutouts.
He's like,
in that. You're like, what the fuck is this?
I'll be surprised. I was sitting watching Lethal Weapon with my brother, my older brother, and he leaned over to me, and because when he saw Danny Glover, he leaned into my ear and he goes, "Wasn't he the bad guy in Witness?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "And he's a good guy in this." It was my brother was a cop, and I said, "Yeah." Damn, this is, and he came up a couple of comments, but he was like, "Damn, this is," and he just stopped, and I went, "Yeah, you're right."
Another one of my favorites is of Danny Glover is the very criminally underrated Silverado.
Oh God!
That's a great movie.
Yeah,
and that was before Lethal Weapon. That was 85. I love that.
He killed Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, he shanks
him. Jeff Goldblum, he shanks him with that switchblade. Jeff Goldblum's a nasty. Yeah.
Oh God,
He was also great in James Wan's Saw.
Yes, he was very good at.
That's right. Really good fucking movie.
First one is great.
It's criminally underrated because it's like at like Saw 10 now. But that first movie with Carrie Elways was really fucking good.
Yeah. We're not going to mention.
We also have. No, we're not going. We're also talking about, and this man stole the last 20 minutes of this movie. Gary fucking Busey.
Oh yeah.
Pre motorcycle accident. Gary Busey was actually a really solid fucking actor.
Oh yeah, Buddy Holly.
And he's really reserved as Mr. Joshua until they just kind of turn him loose in the last 20 minutes of the movie. He steals it from Gibson. He steals it from Glover. He steals it from fucking everybody as Mr. Joshua. You just turned a fucking werewolf loose in the town, and he's on the run.
I had not an argument, but we had a discussion on this movie with a bunch of actors in a panel, and I turned around and said, because of the character that Riggs was playing, they usually try to give. I remember a critic, I think it might have been Gene Siskel, talking about they were going to say he's special forces coming back, gone crazy, but that wasn't the reason. Right. He was like one image of what a superior, well-trained soldier was. And Gary Busey, I was saying, was the opposite. They were mirror characters.
Yeah.
Mirror images.
One just being good and one just being evil. And I'm like, and people don't get that. I said, you watch it the way it's. That's why you had to have that fight at the end.
Yeah, which is very close.
And not just for the audience. Okay.
No, go ahead, John. Finish. I'm sorry.
saying not just for the audience, but even for the character of Riggs.
Yeah.
One of the things they keep talking about, that Riggs was on the verge because of the loss of his wife.
Right.
That he was going to break. And Gary Busey was completely calm.
Yeah.
But they were
Gary Busey was a psychopath. Yeah.
That's what made him scary.
Riggs could have easily been him.
Yeah.
Because
Gary Busey could have played this completely over the top. Yelling and doing like Point Break Gary Busey, this kind of thing. And he does it. He plays it very reserved.
Oh God,
he's always very well dressed. Everything he has to say is very succinct. And it's very curt. It's clipped. Maybe 4 or 5 words. His lines are very short. He plays this militarized, psychopath.
He's like a robot.
He kind of is.
Yeah,
hold on a second.
He is really good.
We got Whitey the White Guy. You remember Switchback too?
Yep.
He says he was just writing that. Okay, so he brought up Switchback. And he says Busy was an underrated film. Busey was in an underrated film called Soul.
Yes, Kurt Russell.
Oh, that one. I didn't see that one.
Yes, he was.
Right?
Or was that maybe like a cyborg or something? Kurt Russell?
No, Kurt Russell.
Well-trained soldier from birth.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same guy who wrote oh gosh, what is it?
It's the same guy who did it.
Same guy who wrote Blade Runner wrote the book that movie was based on.
Oh, Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
We also have, and I mean, I can't pretend to be. I watched this show, Dark Shadows. Okay, so it's on Tubi, 1,200 episodes. You can watch 20-minute episodes. So you can sit there for 2 episodes, sit down for 45 minutes. You have in it a very young Mitchell fucking Ryan who plays the general here.
Ryan,
And I remember watching it the first time, like, is that fucking Mitchell Ryan? Because it's 20 years and he's very young. I'm like, shit.
Mitchell Ryan.
Mitchell Ryan in here. You have, I think, what is probably the best role ever for Tom Atkins.
Yeah, man. Michael Hunsaker.
Michael Hunsaker.
Yeah.
You play a man who's extraordinarily distressed for any number of reasons, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Right.
Like I said, better story and bitchin' fucking soundtrack.
They even got a great performance, I felt, out of Darlene Love, who played.
Yep. The wife.
Yeah. The wife. And I was waiting for her to break into a song, because it was Christmas. But she did a good job. I was like, damn.
Well, even their daughter was good in what she needed to do, fawning over Riggs and stuff like that,
And that's what I was saying earlier is that I liked that they kept all the same actors throughout all the movies.
They became a family.
Yeah, Darlene Love, all the kids are all the same actors.
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody else could have replaced those people.
I agree.
Because you can't. I mean, if you were there, you understand how big these movies were. And nobody else would have sufficed, even in the minor roles of playing Trish or what was her name? Not Amanda. Oh God, what's her name? The daughter who gets kidnapped.
Oh, I don't know.
Rianne.
Yeah,
any of those people, that sort of thing. But
even the woman who played the Shrink.
Oh yeah, she's in the 4th one. She's in the 4th one,
and she's in
Mary
the 2nd
Ellen
one
Trainor
too.
was in a lot of Donner's movies. Yeah.
She's in a lot of
Donner. Mom in the Goonies.
Yeah, if it's either a Donner movie or if Shane Black has written it, she's in it too.
Yeah. Did Shane Black write this one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know he did the second one. Yeah. And let's not forget the great Al Leong who plays Endo.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So we start off with Murtaugh, who's like just right there on his 50th birthday.
Yeah.
And like nothing could be more traditional. He's just like in the bath. He's taking a bath in the morning, he's trying to relax. His family comes bursting in, with a big birthday cake, and he's got like 2 daughters and a son and a wife, and they're all singing happy birthday to him, having this nice morning, so on and so forth. And then it just contrasts over, and he's talking to his daughter. She's making fun of him. And then it contrasts over to Riggs.
Oh, yeah.
Who is
Not traditional.
living in a trailer, with his dog. It's like, the bare ass crack of dawn. He's smoking a cigarette. Sun's just coming up. He's already drinking. And he's just, they're just polar opposites, and it just within those 5 or 7 minutes just perfectly sets up the contrast between the two.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're both veterans, just on the opposite ends of this, sort of life spectrum. And the reason I picked this, of course, being I'm having a rough Christmas, is because, like we talked about, and we have been talking about, the holidays can be hard. And the reason that Riggs is having a hard holiday is because it's the first Christmas without his wife. Wife has died in a car crash.
That's right. Yeah.
And he wants to die.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have anything else. He doesn't have children. He doesn't have anything. All he has is this job. And you get the feeling that, maybe his wife was like a stabilizing force in his life, because he's a little cuckoo to begin with.
Right.
So, you got the right partner. Maybe she keeps you, in check and happy and, all these different things. And now suddenly that's gone, and he is clearly suicidal.
Yeah.
Which is what makes this, and the story of Riggs, like the 4 movies have kind of about the evolution of Martin Riggs. And by the time we get to the 4th movie, he's remarried. They're going to have a baby. He's with Rene Russo. He's with the right partner again, so on and so forth. But this first movie starts off, and he is just fucked up.
Well, it's the Murtaugh family is the family, and he's family-less. And when you hear more about it, you feel for him.
Wow, that picture.
Yeah, because the anger of the loss of his wife and things like that. Because he has, to me, moments where he's crazy and does the goofy shit. But then there's times when all of a sudden you realize he's dead serious. There's none of that over the top wide eyes, but he's hurting.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. And that's, again, a testament to Gibson. Mel does not get enough acting credits for some very good roles that he has done. And in this one, very underrated, not understated. He does a great job in this.
He literally, like, later on started to move into things, that were more like cinema, with Braveheart. And, he was directing, and then he was winning Oscars. But this was the role that kind of blew him up. We knew some people knew him from Mad Max, 8 years before or whatever. But this was the role where he became like a global sensation.
Mad Max got his foot in the door. This kicked it open.
This movie gave him Mad Max 3.
This was before Thunderdome. This gave him Thunderdome.
Okay.
They talked about that. They said they weren't going to be too sure when this got popular. That kind of gave him the green light to do Thunderdome.
I see. Okay.
Because I love that, because they went with the fact that he can do it. He can hold that energy.
Yeah.
But you can see like when we have the scene with the Christmas tree, and the bust. He really kind of does want that. And it's worth noting that the man who holds the gun on him, if you watch this, is Anthony Kiedis' father.
Right.
From the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who is kind of a fucked up person.
Right.
Because Kiedis would come back later and say that he learned to do drugs from doing them with his father. It was one of those types of situations. But you can see in that scene, he really does want that man to shoot him.
Yeah.
He does. And then, it's between that and disarming him. And that's when you get that face right there. He's between wanting to die and then defending himself from the man trying to kill him. And it's hell. Yeah. And he does a very good job of playing these kind of tortured characters. He kind of always has. I don't know what it is that he seems to be drawn to characters that are in pain.
He's like that in the Mad Max movies too, because by the second one he's already lost his wife and child. So he's
like that in The Patriot. I mean, he's got his kids are killed in that, like most of his kids. I mean, he's throughout the whole thing. He's.
I mean, even the
way Braveheart. Look at Braveheart.
Yeah, Braveheart. Yeah.
there's somebody who turned around and said, if you look at the way he directed The Passion of the Christ, even to show the pain of what he was going through, which was never really done. He believes in that. If you're going to show it, show it.
Yeah.
I feel.
This is what the sins of the world would look like if they were taken out on a human body. And by the time it gets done, there's not a piece of flesh left on Jim Caviezel. Like there's, it's just, it's awful to watch. And at the same time, it's mesmerizing to watch.
Right.
Like you can't not watch. You're just like, holy shit.
Yeah, but that's Mel's way of doing it. I mean, he's the movies that he does when he presents that. Yeah. That's why I get when he does like one of his romantic comedies or funny movies, which are okay. I'm like, ain't no blood. What are you saying?
Yeah. So I mean, we get to the story of they're working on this case. Amanda Huntsacker. That's kind of an interesting story because one of Glover's Vietnam buddies is now a banker whose daughter has gotten into porn.
Yeah.
And that is just like the way Atkins plays it, he's just and like she's dead. She's dead. Like the movie starts off with just this beautiful girl, just climbing up on a balcony and jumping. She's so fucked up. She's on drugs.
Yeah.
She's snorting, these pills. And she just, she's half naked and she just up on this big Hollywood high rise and she just jumps out of a fucking window. And you're thinking, what the fuck is the connection to all this?
I'll tell you what, that scene, with Donner, he's really good behind the camera. I got a head rush when he had that camera zooming down to the roof of that car. You know what I mean? It was like it literally was like you're on a roller coaster, just watching her point of view, just all the way down.
He's a really good director, Donner. He I don't think of all. I'm not familiar with all his movies, but the ones I've seen were all really good.
And he could take and again, this is a good story, but like I said, it was light when I was reading the script. He could add the meat to it. Type deal. He has a way of making that work.
That's the thing with Shane Black. Shane Black can write good, fun action movies, but he also needs that director to kind of help him, kind of like with Predator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant The Predator. I'm like,
no. Shane Black wrote the original, and he with John McTiernan, they were able to catch
Oh, I didn't know he wrote the original. I thought
he helped write the original. Yep.
Because I know he did for Lethal Weapon 2. I think in his original script, Riggs died on the boat at the end, but because the producers saw money and wanted
to make capitalize on this success.
He walked away. Shane Black walked away at that point, and
that's why Mel Gibson was making jokes about it at the end. If you remember the second movie,
was he?
Come and kiss me. He was doing all that because he thought, all right, you're going to make me come back and live.
Yeah,
let's have some fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the third one, but it did give us the fourth one with Jet Li and Uncle Benny.
Jet Li's the fourth one. Yeah, I like
Uncle Benny. That's what I mean. I said I didn't like the third one. We did, get Jet Li and Uncle Benny. And then, I guess Chris Rock. By then, they had kind of become comedies.
Yeah. It was a lot more lighthearted,
Well, it was called a buddy movie. And the first buddy movie was that movie with Robert De Niro and
Midnight Run.
Midnight Run. That was the first movie that got called a buddy movie. And that was an action movie, but funny. This was also called a buddy movie, and it had some humor in it, but there was more action. And they kept saying,
I don't know, wouldn't 48 Hours be considered a buddy movie?
What?
No, they weren't buddies.
48 Hours?
No, they hated each other.
They hated each other.
48 Hours was considered like a duo trip. They were calling duos type things.
No, I know they hated each other, but you know what I mean.
The
point about it was, even if they really liked each other, even though they were at each other's throat.
Yeah.
And the two of them were always together. It wasn't like they were separated. Same thing with Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. When they got together, they were together.
Here's the thing, though. You couldn't write a script like this now.
No, you couldn't.
Nope.
Like the captain, even somebody like the captain. I love the captain in this series, and this whole thing. But he's just, the way he's dismissive of Mel's suicidal ideation.
Right.
You know, he's like, well, if he kills himself, then I was wrong. Like you
right.
You know, and the woman's like wagging her finger at him, and he's like, excuse me, like I'm in the men's room. You fucking leave me alone. You know, like you couldn't write this kind of shit today. You know, it would be considered very politically incorrect and misogynistic and this sort of thing. And it's a really good script.
And the way even the captain dismissed him added to the point that when Danny Glover realizes you're not going for a psych, that you're really trying to kill himself, the first thing he wanted to do was help him. It wasn't like he wanted to get away from him or get, that
he calls the psychologist.
Yeah. And it adds depth to these characters. And I think it's hysterical. He's talking to the shrink and Gibson's eating a hot dog. I just found that funny.
The little one-upisms that they got going on. Like Murtaugh will never let him drive. You're supposed to be suicidal.
One of my favorite scenes. I love the scene. They've already had dinner. And you can call me Martin. You call him Mr. Riggs. That type of the daughter's falling over. But my favorite scene is after dinner, and they're in the boat. The wife is the one taking out the trash, and then even Gibson's telling shit. They're talking bad about her roast or whatever. But he's like, but she's real good at taking out the trash, isn't she, Roger? Stuff like that. And he's just giving him shit about he doesn't know he doesn't know what to do with a boat. He just owns it and he fixes it. Stuff like that. So
that's good. I know,
like bonding with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like his daughter's smoking weed in the house. He's like a cop, and his daughter's like smoking weed.
And I love that when he said, I agree with you, but it's against the law.
I wonder how much of that was. But I wonder how much of that was improvised, between the two of them, and how much was in the script. Because
they just had that, and it's an overused term. My apologies. They had that chemistry.
Yeah,
both of them genuinely liked each other. And it showed on the film.
These two movies are one of the best 1-2 punches out there.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I put them up there I put them over the 1-2 of Die Hard. Or maybe a 1-2 of Alien, maybe a 1-2 of Terminator 2, like just the 1-2, not the 3s, the 4s, These first two movies, I mean, they're just
Die Hard 2 was anyway. I mean,
I wouldn't put that in there. Right. You've also got Tom Atkins as Michael Hunsaker again, playing a very sort of tortured character. And when he has to confess to Glover that his daughter's been doing porn, like your heart kind of breaks for him. And then you find out later he's kind of a scumbag. He's fucking dealing heroin. But when that first fucking admission comes out, you're like, that's fucked up. Because like Glover is so straight-laced.
Yeah.
And like there's that one scene where like he's watching the video for a second and then he's looking at her high school photo and she's just a fucking kid. And he just slams the fucking, he like shuts everything off and like he can't watch it anymore. It's just,
I know.
There's these little, exactly. He's got a daughter who's like, probably right at that age, and he's like, this is fucked up, and it's like his war buddy, and there's nothing he can do for him, because the girl's already dead, and you're just like, this is, and it's just these small little things that are in it. It's like a little 3 or 4 minute scene, but it's just, it adds to what makes it more than just another 80s action movie.
And it ties to another scene in the movie later on, type deal, which I won't talk about until you bring it up. But it does. That scene.
Go ahead, John. We're not doing anything necessary chronologically.
Well, no, when you're kind of seeing him watching the daughter, and then there's a scene where he's getting interrogated by the bad guys, and they bring the daughter in.
Yeah, the lever's
not breaking it. And you seen that same Agner when he was watching his friend's daughter on the porn with his.
Yeah.
And it's that psychological tie. Yeah. And again, it could be Donner with his direction and with the script. He made sure you got that without making it overly played.
Yeah.
And it does. You start feeling for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Where normally in another 80s movie, it could be two-dimensional. But, they give it, that's, again, going to the weight type deal.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Go right ahead. Keep on. I'm just setting something up. Go ahead.
Oh no, it just says that's all. If we get to that scene, it has one of my favorite lines in the whole damn movie. That's all. But I'll wait till.
Do you mind if I borrow your test drive your Audi? Is it? You mind if I just pulls out a fucking like M16 or whatever?
Yeah.
Test drive your Audi.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, that brings us to the man himself.
There he is.
A very young and a very fucking good actor, Gary Busey.
I found it.
Go ahead.
I found it odd that they called him an albino because he's clearly not.
Well, I mean, I think it's just a derogatory term. They just,
I guess. Yeah.
If you notice, also everybody's kind of tan in this movie.
Yeah.
No, seriously, because of being out in L.A.
Yeah.
He kind of has a tan to him. He really doesn't. So,
okay.
In California, that would be an albino.
No, okay.
Man, I lived out there for 6 months and walked out there and every fucking I spent the summer and the fall out there, almost up until Christmas, and every fucking day is like 90 degrees, hot and sunny. It's like you're a fucking lizard. I've never seen anything like that. It's beautiful. I lived with Rod. I don't know if you guys knew this. I lived with Rod for 6 months. He had an apartment.
I remember you telling me.
Right on the Pacific Ocean in Long Beach, California. I lived in the LBC with Rod. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. He's not there anymore. He's in a different section of the city. But, it was fucking great. But that weather, man, every day. 70, like 90 degrees and sunny and hot and clear. Never any rain. So, yeah.
He never sweats in this movie.
Well, no, that's because he's a fucking psycho. Well, they got, that part he probably didn't have to act very far. But, he's a great fucking villain because you don't see him very often.
Right.
Yeah.
Until like the very end of the movie. Like he just pops up here and he pops up there and you're sort of figuring out what the story is.
Yeah.
And then, in the last 30 minutes, especially the last 20 minutes between the interrogation scene and then the chases and then the fights, they just completely turn him loose in the, the third act. And he's fucking great.
Well, what I love is, when they basically introduce him is when they're interrogating the one guy and he holds up the lighter and he says, Mr. Joshua. I love how it's Mr. Joshua. You know what I mean?
It's Mr. Joshua.
And he holds his arm over the lighter and you can see the pain in his face, but he doesn't want to puss out in front of his boss. You know what I mean? He's holding it in. And then so that sets up how much of a badass this guy is. And, Busey, his motorcycle accent notwithstanding, he's a big parody of himself now. But at this stage right here, he doesn't have to do much because he looks scary just right there in that picture, and he's not trying to be scary. He's an intimidating looking man. And what I like after they get the point across with the lighter, he says, okay, Mr. Joshua, go have the nurse look at that, and he just says, yes, sir. You know what I mean? He's still like a to use a wrestling term, Mike knows, he no-sells it. You know what I mean? He still doesn't show that pain.
He reminded me of G. Gordon Liddy. If you ever hear the stories of G. Gordon Liddy, G. Gordon Liddy was the one where he held the lighter and held his hand over the flame. And he said it wasn't the pain, it was not minding the pain. When I saw that, that's the first thing I thought, because G. Gordon Liddy allegedly worked in the CIA and did, these covert acts. What he was saying. So when I saw that, I was like, that's what they're tying in. At least that's what I felt. And it was. He just stood there and held that. I heard people in the movie theater wince.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would hear somebody go, ugh, like in the movie theater. He just,
because
I guess
Donner's so good, he has that close-up. You know what I mean? You see a large, it's a large flame, and you just see that big, thick chunk of forearm meat right on top of it.
Cooking,
you know what I mean?
cooking.
Yep. And it's cooking.
I think in that picture, I think it looks a little bit like a young Bruce Dern. I think just the angle, but no. See, I don't have much exposure to Busey. I mean, I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff. I mean, I know he's going back to like the 60s. He's been acting.
If you get a chance, no joking, Dan, and this is for everybody. In the late 70s, he played Buddy Holly.
Yeah, the Buddy Holly.
That's his big one.
If you didn't see that, see it. It's a brilliant.
He got nominated for an Oscar for it.
Yeah, he was nominated for Best Actor, and he's brilliant in that.
What scared me about the scene with the lighter was that the entire time it's happening, he's looking at the guy they're making the point to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, you motherfucker, you're making me do this. You know, fuck this. You know, I'm going to come back and he's got that look like he's just going to skin him alive if I have to come back here and talk.
And you know what I just thought of, Mike? It just makes me wonder how many times has Mr. Joshua had to do this to prove that point to somebody?
Yeah.
Like
well, I mean, he's a great villain. He's a great villain.
Yeah,
So
and I think a lot of times, you know, and we were talking about this, I think, you know, because of the motorcycle accident, like you said, because he's a parody of himself now, he doesn't get a lot of credit. Doesn't get a lot of the love he deserves, you know, because now he's just like, it's crazy.
What happened is, and I just saw somebody talk about this recently, you know, here we have a man, this is 36 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And here, 36 years ago, he's in his prime.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, he suffers a very horrific accident. Yeah. I think clearly, you know, he's got, you know, traumatic brain injury.
Damage.
Yes.
He's not, you know, he's not the same. And unfortunately, because, you know, 3 decades have passed since then, this past his prime sort of, you know, frozen spot is how he's remembered.
Yeah,
You know, we who are a little bit older have the forethought to, you know, say, hey, I can remember from 87, you know, or John can remember from, you know, the late 70s, you know, that this man was more than that.
Yeah.
You know, and say, you know, you should look at this.
Yeah.
I saw somebody say that today. And if anybody remembers the 1992 presidential election, they were talking about Ross Perot.
Right.
And they were saying that Perot had his VP candidate was this man named James Stockdale.
Yeah.
And James Stockdale was the head POW in the Hanoi Hilton during the Vietnam War. So much like he was the commanding, like the highest ranking American in the Hanoi Hilton. So much so that at one point the VC wanted to make a propaganda film of him using him, and he actually bashed his own face in to prevent them from being able to use his face because the VC didn't want to show the brutality that was occurring. So, I mean, the man was a hero. He was a Medal of Honor winner. He went all the way to become an admiral, even though he was a captain at the time. But by the time he had run for VP, he was past his prime. And so he was awkward from the beatings. He had gone deaf in one ear. And so he was like, what? You know, I can't understand. Like, that's how people remember him. You know, if you were to grab a person off the street and say, hey, who's James Stockdale? Or that guy from the Ross Perot thing, he was much more than that.
God, I remember.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry, Mike. You got me thinking about Stockdale because I liked him. I genuinely did when I read more about him, because the first time I saw him was during the Ross Perot when he was VP. Christ, I remember when Dennis Miller was doing his show. He defended Stockdale.
I remember that too.
You're all belittling him, and he went right down the list of everything he did.
I think
you're making, I forget who he was at the head of Vietnam during the war. He goes, you're now making him laugh in hell because you're belittling this man who didn't run away.
There was a point in his captivity. There's a movie that they made about him, and he's played by James Woods. Stockdale is played by James Woods, and there was actually a point where the VC had zeroed in on something that they could interrogate him about, and he knew that if they got him into another interrogation, they might get it out of him. And Stockdale actually slashed his wrists. To prevent the VC from getting that information. And after that, the improvements in the Hanoi Hilton actually, because it's so emboldened the other soldiers that they were like, oh my God, this guy was going to kill himself. And the treatment in the Hanoi Hilton actually improved. But sadly, 1992 is kind of what they remember this guy about. And so, you know, when we talk about Busey, there's more to than that what happened after his traffic, you know, his accident.
Well, you know, it's funny though. I'm just looking at Busey's credits, and after Lethal Weapon, man, he was on a streak. I mean, he did Predator 2, he did Point Break, he did Under Siege, he did The Firm.
He was great in Under Siege.
All in a span of like all in the span of like 5 or 6 years.
I love The Firm. I love The Firm.
Yeah.
I think that's a great
Very
fucking
underrated
Coppola
movie.
film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's a very
he's-
underrated movie. For
he
a
was
Grisham
still,
novel.
yeah, he even did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's since then he's done some interesting.
We
stuff.
had the accident.
But
Yeah.
but no, it's cool. Like after this movie, it kind of gave him a
Platform.
second boost almost in his
Yeah.
career. Yeah.
It's hard.
He was
I
great in
imagine
Under
that-
Siege.
I imagine. I talked to Duchovny. I talked to Duchovny. I saw this video with David Duchovny one time. Yeah, let me rephrase.
Your personal friend, David Duchovny.
Yeah, is that my buddy David? Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
They're like this. Mike's the
American
film.
yeah.
They're like
American-
this.
American Werewolf over here. But he was saying that everyone in Hollywood has this enormous insecurity. It doesn't make a difference if you just won an Oscar. The minute that project is over, this dread fear grabs a hold of you that what's next. And he goes, I'm not immune to this, because it was like some video like for like Vanity Fair or something where he went through his entire history, from the X-Files up to whatever he's doing now, and it must be difficult to transition successfully from one decade to another.
To another, yeah.
To move from the 70s and then still be a hit in the 80s. And then try to do it again in the 90s.
Yeah. And still be relevant. I mean, look at a lot of those actors, like my favorite generation of actors were the guys who came out of World War II. That group of 60s actors, Bronson, Coburn, Garner, all those guys. And you look at their careers from, the 60s into whatever the last things they did. A lot of them Bronson was doing direct-to-video movies by the time he was done. Coburn actually won an Oscar late in his career. For Affliction. Garner was the only one who was doing who was still kind of significant.
Garner went to television.
Yeah.
The Rockford Files. I remember I grew up watching the Rockford Files with my dad.
Yeah. But I mean, those actors,
even when he was old, when John Ritter died on Eight Rules for Dating My Daughter, he came in to play Katie Seagal's father. To help her with the tragedy in the show.
Yeah, but I think
it's 3 seasons, and he was great.
And I think it's hard. It was harder for a lot of those actors to transition from decade because, you have your time. Like Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds was the shit in the 70s.
Oh yeah. For a point there, he couldn't throw a rock.
Burt Reynolds was everywhere.
Hitting a Burt Reynolds film.
And then when the 80s came around, he kind of slowed down a little bit. And then
the tone of movies changed. It's hard for Burt Reynolds to compete with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's the thing. Burt Reynolds, he's known for being the sexy guy with the stash, and then you have the bodybuilders. And in the 80s, and then by the 90s, he's making these stupid ass kid films like Cop and a Half.
He was a legit Tony Stark. I mean, he was a real Tony Stark.
He was actually, it was funny. He was actually offered a chance to read Han Solo.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
People keep making jokes about it, but they were talking about the people who George Lucas actually went to.
Yeah.
Asked to play parts, and they asked Burt Reynolds, and he said, I don't get it, so I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
They also asked getting the idea.
They also asked Walken to play Han Solo.
Yeah, they also asked Christopher Walken.
Yeah. Now, I got to tell you, my favorite X-Files is with Burt Reynolds, and he plays God. Burt Reynolds plays God in the X-Files, and he's he just keeps going, he just keeps appearing in front of the serial killer.
Right.
It's about a serial killer.
Yeah.
And serial killer keeps talking to God. And God's like not trying to interfere, but trying to say, you could do something different this time, he's in the casino, hey, I know this time you're going to do something different. You're going to get up and you're going to walk out of here and you're going to start a new path. And, and the guy's just looking at him like, who the hell are you? It's like in a Las Vegas casino.
Right.
And the guy's eyeing up to kill one of the cocktail waitresses, and there's Burt Reynolds just playing a game of solitaire, off to himself, and he's like, I know this time you're going to do something different. You're not going to do the same old shit. It's good. It's really it's a really good episode. Burt Reynolds plays God.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's
But
probably the last time I saw him.
The latter half of his career was mostly in TV, where he did have some success. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know.
All right, hold on. Let's get.
Yeah, we got to get back to.
We went from Lethal Weapon to Burt Reynolds.
One thing I do want to say about Gary Busey, though, is, you know, when it comes to like brain trauma, like, you know, my mom had a stroke, and they talk about, you know, I learned a little bit about like the part of your brain that you use for speaking is a totally different part of your brain that you use for singing. Like my mom, she can't really form words when she talks. Like she can get a couple words out, but she can sing along with a song on the radio. So what I wanted to give credit for Gary Busey, like one of my guilty pleasures, you know, for some fucking reason, I love that show, The Celebrity Apprentice. You know what I mean? Okay. And Gary Busey was on an episode, and he was Crazy Busey, you know, like everyone knew. But what was really cool was there was an episode where they were trying to bring people in to the restaurant or some bullshit like that. And it was like a 50s theme. They dressed Busey up like Buddy Holly, and they had him sing the song from the movie, and he was spot on and fantastic. So that's I just, even though he's known for how he is now, it was really cool seeing him back in that old form from that movie and showing that he could be a talented actor and a singer.
You know who could play him now in this part is his son. Jake Busey looks just like him.
But Jake isn't as good of an actor. That's the thing.
No.
Yeah. There we go, Mr. Dan saying, "What's happening, man?"
Hey guys,
what's happening, Dan? So I mean, one of the things, one of the perks of owning this on Blu-ray was that I was able to get to some special features.
Yeah,
and there are some deleted scenes in here, and there are some interesting things that I saw. Like Murtaugh, he's at the shooting range by himself. And like one of the things that, you know, is sort of underplayed, and I love it. I was going to say this, that, you know, none of us are too old for this shit. But, you know, that's just his recurring line in the movie, and that he's hit 50 and that, you know, I'm too old to get like tied to this guy now. You know, it's just, you know, maybe I'm going to get out, you know, maybe I'm looking to do something different. And there's this great scene where he's at the range and he, like, his hands are shaking, like he's by himself, you know, and he has to like force himself, you know, to like keep his hands so he can shoot, you know. Like really, you could have put that in there and it would have been okay. There's another one with Riggs, where he's in the trailer and they're watching something on TV and he's just standing there. And then all of a sudden he just rages and he just throws a fucking beer bottle as hard as he can into a television set. And just smashes it. And the minute second he does it, he realizes, like, I shouldn't have done that. You know, and he just kind of gets up and walks out, you know, and he's like, he looks, because he knocks over the picture of his wife. And he's like, I'm sorry. I'll buy you a new one. You know, and then it shows that he comes home, and that's the night he puts the gun in his mouth. He comes home with a new television. Like some 13-inch, you know, bought a little 13-inch television, and that's what he does. There's another one that we've discussed before, where he picks up where he leaves Murtaugh's house after the dinner, and he picks up a hooker, and he realizes she's underage, and he gives her the $100, tells her to get in the car, and he's like, "Look, come home and watch the Three Stooges with me. That's all you got to do."
I've heard of that scene.
Three Stooges start in 20 minutes. She's like, "That's it."
That's
he's
a good scene.
You know, and he just does something that makes her laugh, and he's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. You know, $100 the whole night. You know, just come home and watch the TV with me. That's all you got to do."
He just wanted he wanted company. That's all it was.
Yeah. I think he honestly would have picked up a hooker, but when he when he realized, you know, this was because she said at first she says I'm like 23, and he's like, "No, how old are you really?" She's like 16. He's like, "Okay, you know, let's just watch some TV, you know, this sort of thing."
But that also then adds to those characters. You know, it adds to the Murtaugh character, and it adds to the Riggs character so much that you begin to sympathize with them. They're not the two. I don't want to say they're the two-dimensional characters that were shown in a lot of the 80s action films. And they were not, because they weren't even close. And stuff like that really, you know, and as much as I would have loved to have seen it, with what was shown, you got it. as an audience member.
By the time we get to the third movie, Riggs has, Murtaugh has that accidental gun discharge in the locker room. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Yeah.
He's getting too old.
Right.
Yeah. He's in his 50s now. He's too fucking old to be doing all this shit. It's something they only touch on briefly, and by the time they get to the fourth movie, it's just a comedy, so they don't get into it at all.
Right.
Yeah.
But that first, he's just, and he can't stop his hands from, he can't keep his hands steady anymore. He's 50 years old. And as an LA police detective, doing all this crazy shit, and
see, some of those movies blend together, like because I've seen them a lot, and like certain scenes stick out. Like I'm like, is that from this movie or this movie? Like, what's the one where he's on the toilet and there's the bomb?
Part 2.
Lethal Weapon 2.
That was the second one. Okay, and then the part where he kills the guys with the nail gun. Is that in the first one?
Second one.
That's the second one. Where the house is being fixed up. Okay. Because that's a cool scene where he shoots the dude with the nail gun.
Murtaugh.
Yeah. Okay.
Dan says he'll be watching this with his son this weekend. Yeah, it's a good movie to watch with your kids. Yeah, definitely a good movie. Yeah. They don't make these types of movies anymore.
No, they don't.
That's
why I'm surprised. There's a rumor about a fifth one.
I heard that, and Gibson is supposed to be directing.
Yeah. I don't know if he's directing it. Maybe it'll be R-rated.
He's 67. Glover is 77.
Yeah.
I don't know what they could possibly be doing.
Pesci's up there too. So I mean,
Rene Russo's coming back. I
don't know.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
Donner was working on it. Donner was working on a script or something when he died, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
Bring him back home.
Well, then they had that TV series. Then that didn't last long.
It was actually okay. I watched quite a bit of it.
It wasn't a bad movie. A series,
no, it wasn't a bad series at all. Wasn't bad at all.
I heard the guy who played Riggs was good in that.
He was actually really good. I heard that Damon Wayans was kind of
he was a dick.
An asshole. Yeah.
Wow.
I hear a lot of people say that he's a dick.
He was very
Was
jealous.
it Damon Senior or Junior?
Senior. He was very jealous of not being the star.
Right.
Although you could argue that it's Lethal Weapon, so they're referring to Martin Riggs.
Right. Yeah.
And the guy that they got to play Riggs was actually pretty fucking good. I had never seen him before.
Yeah, I think something happened where there was disagreements on set. Wayans somehow, air quotes, was involved in getting that guy fired, and then they replaced him with Sean William Scott from American Pie. Because I think they ended up killing off Riggs, and then they replaced him with a new partner.
He goes down to Mexico. There's a recurring thing where Riggs has just lost his wife. But it's to a cartel boss. Okay. Because Riggs was a police officer, down at the border, as a narcotics officer.
Yeah.
And he ran afoul of one of the cartel people, and the cartel kills his wife. So he goes into Mexico. He just breaks off from Murtaugh and goes into Mexico with the plan because he's a Navy SEAL. The Riggs in this movie in this show is a Navy SEAL, so he's going to kill the cartel boss. And I don't know if he dies down there or they never hear from him again. Whatever. So, so I mean, we could get into the chronological, but I mean, like I said, I just think it's a really good, solid fucking movie.
One of the things that I liked, and it was funny because it was when I rewatched it today, I caught it because a writer friend of mine, the one who lent me the script, was talking about if you watch Gibson, he was doing some really subtle things throughout the movie that was showing that Riggs wasn't crazy. I mean, even though he was going psychotic, it was depressed. It was what they didn't talk about in the 80s, but it was depression.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about, like, when they were doing the jump off on the bridge or off the roof and he jumped.
Yeah.
It was after that scene when he, like I said, when he was talking to Murtaugh and he did the really wild eyes and everything else. He said all of a sudden his eyes got real soft and all of a sudden it was real.
Yeah.
And he said, and that was a subtle thing that came from Mel Gibson. And that's when, Danny Glover blocked the gun. It was also the, he was certain, like when he was in the big fight with Mr. Joshua at the end, and Danny Glover yells, "Kill him!"
Yeah.
When Gibson had him in the figure 4 around his neck is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, it's a triangle.
But he said, he goes, if you look, Mel Gibson looks at Danny Glover concerned. Because he sees him coming to that, and he goes, that's why he says, no, he's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
But it was, and he said it was Gibson and Donner who were talking, this is what I want you to do, because they didn't want to make him a guy coming home from the war.
Right. This wasn't Platoon. Yeah, it wasn't Platoon.
No.
Yeah.
You know, and it
would have been great. It would have been great though if Gibson had put him in the figure 4.
Yeah. It's like I said,
he's tapping out.
In the scene I
reverses it.
When Danny,
Joshua ain't tapping out, Mike. Come on.
No, Joshua ain't tapping out.
When Danny Glover was getting beaten up in that scene, was my favorite line in the whole damn movie. When Danny Glover was getting beaten up and they put the salt on him and he wasn't giving in, and then they bring his daughter in, and she's a mighty fine girl and and beautiful, and he goes, "Don't you touch her?" And he goes, "Forget about it, son. There's no heroes anymore." And Gibson kicks in the door, and hits. And I'm sorry, when I saw it in the movie theater erupted.
Oh yeah, that's a fist pump moment, dude.
But that's the point about it was. And it's nothing against Schwarzenegger and Stallone and everything else. Rambo couldn't do that. You know, that was not their style. Boom. When Gibson came in and started, he was like, he was a mad dog, but he was your pet. You know, he's on your side type thing. And it worked. It just, you bought it type thing.
Yeah, because Gibson is more human than, the portrayals of Stallone. He's not that kind of Superman.
Exactly.
He's definitely got limitations. I mean, he gets captured by General McAllister. He's being tortured by Al Leong. And Gary Busey. He's very close to killing himself on like 2 or 3 different occasions. So I mean, it's not that kind of movie.
Yeah, and you feel for him. At one point in time, when they were like, when he was running through the streets, I'm like, get the motherfucker.
By
the time I wanted to see the violence, just get that son of a bitch.
Well, and that's what's great about it, because I mean, Gary Busey's just in full Gary Busey mode. This sort of but I mean, by the time you get to the second movie and you think he's going to find some happiness with that woman, and it lasts like 6 hours, and they take it from him. And this is fucked up. And you're just like, holy shit. With those South Africans. See, Eric can't even take it. He's he's a little misty-eyed. Just thinking about it. Good grief. Man. Yeah, you can't blame him. It's a fucked up movie.
And, it's what I keep going back to. There was so much more depth in this than and it's funny because when you saw it the first time, it was cool. He shot the thing when they were test firing in the range, and he made the happy face. That's funny. Then all of a sudden, you were like, there's more and more to this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. When you also say Danny Glover, and Danny Glover looks at him and goes, pretty thin, anorexic. I laughed out loud. That's just one shepherd side of the other shepherd.
Like I said, I watched this today, worried a little bit that it was going to be played out, or I wasn't going to be following along. I enjoyed every second of watching this again. I could probably come back next Christmas and watch it again. Without a problem. Like I said, I probably wouldn't put Batman Begins in, because that's a little too fucking dark. Or Batman Returns. But I could see myself putting this in next Christmas. No problem. I could see myself going into number 2. Over the Christmas break. When I'm off. Not a problem. And maybe see even if I can find cheap copies of 3 and 4 used Blu-ray.
I'll tell you what. I've seen this one less than a handful of times. Same with part 2. The one I've seen the most is 4, because that's when I was like, 16, 17, and they were playing it on like TBS every fucking weekend.
Right.
And that's what got me into going to see the earlier ones. And I think even though the tone kind of goes a little bit more comedic by 4, there's still a lot of heart in this entire series, because you have by part 4, you have Danny Glover bringing in those Chinese refugees, you know what I mean? And his connection with them. So there's still a lot of, good writing and character developments with these characters, even though Part 4 is pretty much a comedy because that's why they brought in Chris Rock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the characters are still very endearing. Murtaugh and Riggs, they're the crux of this series. And in all 4 movies, even though, like I said, the tone changes, they are still perfect. And Danny Glover and Mel Gibson, they're like symbiotes with each other.
That's it. What I mean? Yeah. Is there anybody you met that you haven't killed? Well, I haven't killed you yet. I mean,
don't do me no favors.
But that's the point. Is that when they said that to each other, it was like you saw them liking each other even begrudgingly.
And then by the end of it, the very end of the movie, it's very heartwarming because he's like, give this bullet to your dad, but then he doesn't want to impose, but you can tell he wants to be with them for dinner.
But he doesn't want to.
He closed the door, but then of course,
so he goes.
Murtaugh runs out. He's like, "You're not gonna leave me alone with that dry ass turkey," or you know what I mean, or whatever he says. So
can I bring a friend?
You got the seriousness with him getting rid of the bullet. He's not suicidal, at least at this point, you know what I mean, anymore. They have the friendship, and then that little bit of comedy where he brings in the dog's chasing the cat. It's this nice, funny, heartwarming moment to all this dark shit we've seen. You know what I mean?
Danny Glover goes.
He's become a normie almost.
Yeah,
he's in the family now. The cats are chasing dogs, and regular shit is going on. He's not putting a gun in his mouth. That's not the way he's going to spend his Christmas.
And I loved how they even to keep that theme going into the second movie and the third movie. Like in the second movie, when he comes home and Murtaugh's wife finds his pen and he tells the story about the pen. I mean, there was all this, they kept that tie in and you were going, of course he's part of the family.
Yeah.
He's the pal, he's their buddy.
Yeah, he's like he's Uncle Martin by like
he's
part
Uncle
4
Martin.
or whatever.
Yeah. And by the time they get to the last movie, Murtaugh's asking him, why aren't you married Rene Russo? And he's like, I look down and I still see that ring on my finger.
Yeah.
He's like he goes, it's like I'm not done with that yet. It's just it's the evolution of the 4 movies are the evolution of Martin Riggs.
Yep.
Yeah. Where he's finally able to
He's finally happy. He's finally happy.
Yeah.
Oh, can we please take a moment, acknowledge Gary Busey taking a machine gun and shooting Alistair Sims. It's fucking Christmas.
It's Scrooge. It's Scrooge. Excuse me, sir. What day is it? Fucking Christmas.
Fucking Christmas. I even saw that today, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm still laughing at this.
Fucking Gary Busey.
Gary Busey, man.
Yeah. The highlight of those last 20 minutes of that film is Gary fucking Busey just being turned loose on the city of Los Angeles. And even for a couple of hours, he just lays waste to everything in his fucking path.
That's right.
He's just a fucking menace, and we love him. So.
And we also give credit to the shooting at the end, the fight scene, because you saw it up close, but the distance with using the lights and the water and the rain, that really just added that whole mystique to that. I give him credit to Donner because it kept it so you can keep the fighters who were the stuntmen in the distance. You don't have to worry about getting a close up, but still kept the action going. Donner is a hell of a storyteller as a director.
And even looking at that today, that fight today, that was a pretty good fight.
Yeah, it was.
It was a pretty good fight between him and Gary Busey. Yeah, I mean that's still held up, and he gets him in a legitimate jiu-jitsu choke. The way he choked Busey out, that's called a triangle choke.
Yeah, what I liked about it was to me it seemed more realistic because nowadays fights are all fucking choreographed. It was in the rain, it was in the mud, it was sloppy. You know what I mean? If you've ever been in a real fight, you're going to be tripping over each other. It's not going to be pretty. And this was a cool fight, but it wasn't a pretty fight. You know what I mean?
No. It wasn't a martial arts choreographed.
Exactly.
And another wasn't a Seagal fight. It wasn't a Chuck Norris fight. Yeah.
It was the 2 badass guys on the block finally going at each other.
Yeah.
And I got to also too, when Gary Busey gets the gun and goes to kill him, they both shot at the same time.
Yep, and they both hit him. Yep.
I mean, the story of these 2 characters finally merged.
Yep.
They were partners. Because what does he say when Gibson? I got your partner. I got you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I don't want to say, boy, it was warm and fuzzy as they killed Gary Busey, but it was, it's.
Should it be when you kill Gary Busey?
It should be. Yeah, but that's. it's just good storytelling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, is there anything in this film that you would like to discuss that we have not touched on?
No, I think we pretty much hit it all. In my opinion,
we hit it all.
Yeah. All right. All right. Let's get to the part in the stream where we rate the film. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 by half. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather pierce my butt cheeks together than watch this fucking movie again, all the way to 5, which is like, this is cinema. This is the destination. This is why I watch films in the first place. Ryan, what would you give Richard Donner's Lethal Weapon 36 years
later? I would
later?
give it a solid 5. I'm very usually I'm stingy with my 5s, but this one, like all the points that we hit, I mean, it's everything we talked about. It's one of those movies that I would easily go back to and not get tired of. And you know, it fires on all cylinders and it's solid on every level. I mean, again, for an 80s, people might dismiss it as an 80s action movie, but we've already established that it's way more than that. Mm-hmm. And whereas I would give Die Hard maybe a solid 4, you know, this outclasses it. I mean, it's just because you have a great cast, director, everything just works. It was one of those times where I think in the movie, everything just worked on every level, you know?
Okay. All right. 5. Eric, what do you got for us?
I'm going to give it a solid 4.5. Yeah, Die Hard, you know, like I said, it overtakes it because, you know, it's become a parody. It's more of a fun movie. This is a better movie. Like I said earlier, it's better acted. It's better written. It's better directed. You know, I love John McTiernan, but, you know, he's no Richard Donner. You know what I mean? And what I really love and what is the staple of these movies is the bond between Murtaugh and Riggs.
Yeah.
They don't want anything to do with each other by the beginning. By the end of it, they're partners and they save each other's life. You know what I mean? And then he welcomes them into the family. You know what I mean? Even if it is for fucking dry turkey. But it's still, you know, you have that
we're going to suffer together. Yeah.
You have that blend of the dark shit. You have that blend of action. And the comedy works. It's not, you know, it's not goofy one-liners, you know, like like was everywhere in the 80s. And that's what I loved about it. The comedy was perfect. It was, you know, it was short, sweet. And then again, 2 words for you, Mr. Joshua.
Yeah.
All right. John, what do you got for us? Richard Donner's Lethal Weapon.
I'm going to give it a 4.5 too. Okay. You got to go with, like, I've talked about the script. I've talked about the depth. You had Eric Clapton and David Sanborn.
We didn't talk nearly enough about the
Sanborn. I forgot.
David Sanborn was, I mean, and if you listen to, and I am proud to admit this, when I was working at Cape May Stage and had to do the music, I have all 4 Lethal Weapon soundtracks on CD.
Oh, cool.
Because some of the songs that were not just in music, but like, you know, they were using with the singers and everything else, worked great for like pre-show music and things like that. It's solid. Everything was solid about this flick. Is it cinema? No. There was 1 or 2 things that kind of went, but it's still just good storytelling.
Yeah. That brings me to me. I'm going to go with 4.5. 4.5. Only because it's not that I can say that I have flaws in this movie. It's just that, like, Raiders of the Lost Ark is a 5. You know, Hereditary is a 5. The Exorcist is a 5. Lawrence of Arabia is a 5. Jesus of Nazareth is a 5. You know, these sorts of things. We're not quite, it's as high level entertainment as you can get. And it crosses, you know, it's right there at the cusp of breaking into cinema, but it's not quite there. And for that reason, I will give it a 4.5. Like you said, the chemistry between Glover and Gibson I haven't seen it really in too many other things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got the impression. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's that one scene where Glover has to, you know, he shoots the guy in the pool, and he comes back later and he goes, "I'm sorry about that shit I said. You know, you saved my life. Thank you." Mm-hmm. And Gibson just looks at him. He goes, "Well, that must have hurt."
Yeah,
yeah. And he's like, "You'll never know." He's like, "Just get out of the way, man. Let me put my pants on. You know, come on, let me get out of here." You know, I mean, that's like those are the way, you know, that like guys talk to each other. You know, that kind of, you know, it was authentic. It was very authentic. I love the fact that although we have villains, they're not you know, the major force in the movie. You know, the major force in the movie is the protagonists, you know, sort of, you know, bonding together. And then, you know, they have these crazy fucking guys that they have to take down, which doesn't take too long. You know, by the time we get to the main action of the movie, there's only about 30 minutes left.
Yeah.
You know, so it's about an hour and 45 minutes, hour and 50 minutes, and it's extremely well done. But yeah, I'll give it 4.5. So I think this is as good. What did we do last year? Miracle on 30. This is Miracle on 34th Street.
34th Street.
Now that's 5 stars. Yeah, Miracle on 44th Street. When Santa Claus fucking bops that guy in the head with the umbrella.
Oh, God.
I almost fucking pissed myself laughing. I had never seen that before. You got to be a real asshole.
We can't go tonight. It's Christmas Eve.
You got to be a real asshole to fucking have Santa do something like that.
Yeah, if Santa gets pissed at you.
Yeah, you
lose.
Yeah,
don't care. You lose.
Yeah. You pass fucked up about a mile back.
That's right.
All right. Ryan, you got anything you want to plug? This will be the last Christmas broadcast for the show. But you got anything you want to plug?
Well, I'm finally getting my show off the ground. We're having auditions in January, and the show's scheduled for April 19th through the 21st. So
where at?
Gateway Playhouse in Summers Point. So I'm excited. What's that, John?
What's the show?
Oh, Much Ado About Nothing. Shakespeare. Yeah.
So it's a big fucking mystery. I can't tell you that it is G14.
It's the same show I've been talking about for the past 3 years. So,
not on this stream. All right. So
so we're moving with that, which is good. I'm excited. I'm just hoping we get enough people to come out. You know.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. You know, the fucking all the bullshit's over with now, and you know people want to get out of there.
You're at Gateway. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited.
Good for you.
All right. Thanks. Good. Are you taking a role, or are you just directing?
I hope I don't have to, but if I have to, I will. I mean, it depends on how many people are going to be in it. You know, I mean, if I have to fill a space, I'll fill a space.
This might be a dumb question. Have you ever directed before, Ryan?
Yes.
Have you? Okay.
This is like the 10th or 11th show I've directed.
Oh, wow.
So.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yep.
We were just we were talking last week about the controversy with Denzel playing Hannibal, but I was saying that 30 years ago, you know, Hannibal was in, you know, Don Pedro. He was Don Pedro in Much Ado About Nothing.
Wait, he's playing Hannibal?
Yeah, he's playing the Carthaginian.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Hannibal Lecter.
No, he's not Hannibal.
I'm like,
you know what? I'd pay to see Denzel as Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. Awesome. That would be interesting, actually. That'd be fucking interesting. Yeah.
Well, you know that Denzel Macbeth is still it's only on Apple TV. You can't get it anywhere else.
No, well, you should. They're giving. I told everybody Apple TV is giving away 3 free. I got 3 months for free.
But yeah, I'd rather have.
And I'm watching the new Godzilla series.
Yeah.
Legacy. You know the guy. Yeah. It's with Kurt Russell and his son.
Oh, is he in that?
It's Kurt Russell. It's Kurt Russell, and then his son is playing it because it's a time jump between modern times and like the 60s and 70s. And his son Wyatt Russell is playing him. So it's actually very cool to watch. And plus, you get Godzilla. So it's 3 months.
Wait, Godzilla's in that movie?
Yeah, he's in it. All right, Eric, you got anything you want to plug? Let him know.
YouTube channel is Hey Internet Eric here. Still going through the Rocky franchise. Just the other day, I uploaded my video on Rocky 2.
I'll get that. I'll put that in a community post for you.
Appreciate it. As of this recording, my video on Rocky 3 is scheduled to be uploaded tomorrow. And then I'm taking a bit of a break from Rocky because I just ordered tickets for the Iron Claw, the A24 movie on the Von Erich family. So we're going to go from this uplifting, wonderful story about Rocky, and we're going to get a little bit depressing on my channel. To prepare for that, this weekend I'm going to upload a video on Darren Aronofsky's movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke and Marissa Tomei.
That ought to do it, yeah.
With a fantastic movie. And then maybe Monday or Tuesday, I will have a video up on the Iron Claw before going back to Rocky. So very excited. I grew up watching wrestling. We know this many times from what we've said on the channel. My dad was a huge fan of World Class, huge fan of the Von Erichs. It's released on his birthday. You know, he would have been 72, so it's kind of a good tribute for him. So in my opinion, so I'm excited.
All right, Eric. At the movie theater where I work at, I was really ticked off too because we have one poster for the Iron Claw, but it's a picture of all of them. You just see their backs; they're in the ring, you know, like hugging each other. But there was another one that came last week, and somebody grabbed it and literally ran out of when they got done work.
Sons of bitches!
It's a picture of Zac Efron holding
the belt
on Eric. Yeah, and I was like, dude, I gotta grab that for Eric, and I literally went. Filled a bag of popcorn, and the guy was running down the hall with it. I'm like, son of a bitch.
That's okay, John. I appreciate it.
But if I can get you the other one, I'll be more than happy to hand that one to you too.
I would gladly display that. And I've heard nothing but good things.
Well.
Yeah, heard nothing but good things. I've heard this is probably Zac Efron's strongest performance. Yeah. And he's come from High School Musical. You know, you got to start fucking somewhere, right? Yeah. When he gets into his dramas, he's a very good dramatic actor.
He did an independent film where he played an actor that worked in the Mercury Theater with Citizen Kane, Orson Welles.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to remember what it was. And and he was brilliant in it. I was stunned. I'm going, that can't be Zac Efron. But it was one of the first few things he did after High School Musical. It was really, really good.
He played Ted Bundy on that Netflix movie, and he was very good as Ted Bundy.
I don't think anybody was ever as good. Who was I talking? I was talking to Spider Dabrowski, and we were talking about Evan Peters playing fucking Dahmer.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, that was dark.
Evan was scary.
Holy shit, that was fucked up. All right.
Yeah, but hold on a second. Right, man.
We got Mr. Dan here. He says, "Oh, he's watching the Godzilla series for free too." Yeah, man, you got to get those 3 months for free.
I still got to see -1. I still got to see -1.
You hate me.
It's really good. It's really fucking good. Yeah. All right, that brings me to me, and tomorrow I will be doing a sort of impromptu late show. Last Friday, I bought tickets. I bought it like a month in advance. To go to the Paris Theater in New York. The Paris Theater has been purchased by Netflix and has completely been remodeled. And they own several theaters. The ones that they own theaters in London, London, Paris, New York, LA, a couple of other places. They completely refurbished them in the old classic grand style. Cool. And they're only used for sort of Netflix related releases.
Okay.
$15 a ticket, so standard fare. I bought a ticket to go see Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. We're going to take the day, go up, hop a bus into Midtown, walk the 20 minutes back from Port Authority, go see the theater, come back. Whole fucking day fell apart. So the day after, the next plan was to go up on Monday. Again, the whole day fell apart. So couldn't make it happen. No, it's all right. It's all right. Life goes on. And I'm sure when part 2 drops, if he does the theatrical release again, I'm going to make it up there. But because I think part 2 releases in April. But what happens tomorrow at 7 p.m. on Netflix, Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon is going to drop. I will be here. It's supposed to be about 2 hours and 10 minutes. So it'll finish about 9:10. I will be here tomorrow night at 9:30 live streaming my review for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. Cool. I've heard a few things about it. Reviews are kind of mixed, but that doesn't bother me in the least. I make up my own mind about these things.
Hey, they all hated Sucker Punch, but you and I, so fuck them.
I fucking love Sucker Punch. I fucking love that movie. It's fucking great. I've been a fan of Snyder since Dawn of the Dead. So it's been 20 years, no problem. So I'll be here doing that on Saturday. I'm going to see Aquaman 2. So this will be the final. This could be the final movie in the DCEU. If you believe that is the case. I do not personally. I think within 5 years. So let's say by 2018, so close to 4 years, Snyder will be back to finish the series for Netflix, which pans out perfectly with the way Justice League ends. But for this, right now, it looks like this will be the final movie for a while. There's going to be a pause. So I'm curious as to what it's going to be like. I like Momoa's casting as Aquaman.
Yep.
I think different directors played him differently. If you saw, the way Zack Snyder played Momoa, it's very serious and grounded. If you saw the way James Wan did it, it's much more comedic, and on the slapsticky side of things. So this will be another Wan direction. I heard they cut the Affleck scene that James Gunn has extracted Affleck and his Batman scene out of it.
Same with Michael Keaton. There was supposed to be a Michael Keaton scene in that they pulled.
Yeah, but James Gunn has taken those out.
Well, they're really just trying to erase
the board.
Ounce of,
They said Gunn does not want to get people excited for something that will not happen.
The funny thing is that it's like basic psychology. It's like the more you pull something out, the more people want it.
It's like banning books.
Yeah.
You ban a book, everyone's going to go find it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike. No, go ahead.
I'm looking forward to the film, but I have a pretty good idea of what I'm in for. I'm just going to enjoy it just the same. I think it's going to be enjoyable. I think if you're a comic book fan, they're going to be getting into the old Battle of the Brine storyline. I like Patrick Wilson. I've been a Patrick Wilson fan since Watchmen. I think that's one of his most underrated and best roles.
Conjuring movies too.
He's great in the Conjuring movies. That goes without saying. So I'll be doing that. And then if we can get a chance to connect with Jay next week, and I'll understand if we can't because it's his Christmas too, and we're not going to do the Iron Claw without Jay. We'll sit down and get a stream going for the Iron Claw. Ryan and I'll connect. And then after that, at some point, we'll see if we can set up a stream. If not next week, then the week after.
Yeah, because I know he did say the last time we talked, he wants to be in on that. So
you couldn't do it without Jay. It wouldn't be right. Not on this channel. No. And then once we start the new year, which really isn't that far away. What is it? 11 days, 12 days away until the new year ends. We get back into cold and scary as fuck.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Horror films that are set in very frigid settings. And I've got a list of about 12 movies that should take us through. We did the last one. John, you remember we did 30 Days of Night. We did Let the Right One In. We did The Shining. We did, Ryan, you and I did The Gray with Liam Neeson. So that will be back again. And I've got a new roster of films that are really going to fucking rock it.
I'll say this. Mike teased me a little bit. He threw out about like 5 or 6 titles, and they're all ones I am excited to talk about.
Yeah. With the exception of Invasion USA, I rarely miss.
You know what? The thing, you take that chance. Your batting average is still pretty good.
Everybody has to have a vampire in Brooklyn in their past. It's okay.
Speaking of which, we got to get fucking Rod on. I shouldn't have said that because what we got to do is we got to get Rod on, and I got to pick the movie because every time Rod comes on, I let Rod pick the movie because we don't have him on very frequently. And then I say to myself, why the fuck did I let Rod pick the movie? Because then I end up watching the movie. What was the last one? Blackula.
Yeah. But in his defense, he also chose Interview with the Vampire.
Did he?
Yes.
Yeah. So, that was right.
He may be 1 for 6, but God bless him, he's got that one.
A good one.
That one was pretty. That one was
good, man.
And Silver Bullet was fun to pick on. And
in case Rod is watching, Merry Christmas, dude. Happy holidays.
I got to tell you guys, if anybody gets a chance to watch it, it's gay as fuck. But it's also a gory fucking vampire series.
Put that on the poster.
The Interview with the Vampire. The Interview with the Vampire AMC series. Mm-hmm. This is a fucking masterclass in writing.
Yes, it is.
The guy who plays fucking Lestat, I was like, no one's ever going to beat Tom Cruise. This guy's really fucking good.
Yeah.
And the guy who plays
Louis.
Louis.
How much I liked it.
Yeah.
I was surprised how much I liked it when I saw it. I was like, this is actually good.
You were against it at the beginning, weren't you, Mike?
Yeah, I was like, why the fuck do we need to remake this at all? Mm-hmm. And then what ended up happening was AMC leased it to HBO for like 2 months. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, fuck it. Let me watch an episode. And then before you knew it, I was like, in one night, I was half an episode from completing the whole season.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what the fuck is this? It was that fucking good. And like I said, it's really fucking gay. It has nothing to do with Anne Rice. For some reason, Lestat and Louis are in the fucking... You can see Lestat's ass because they're in the coffin together. And I'm like, this isn't in the fucking book, but it's still a really great fucking gory vampire story. And they're coming back next season. And Eric, you'll remember this. Remember we covered The Exorcist?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The Irish priest. Remember him?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
He's playing Santiago, the guy who ends up fucking butchering Claudia.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
I'll show you the fucking, I'll DM you the YouTube clip. He's a cruel bastard in this, man.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of The Exorcist TV series, it's now both seasons on Tubi. So I can get on.
Okay.
I'm gonna rewatch. Okay. I'm gonna rewatch season 1, and then even though you said season 2 is kind of a step down, I'm gonna give that a shot.
Yeah, it is. Did you watch Believer?
I did. I didn't hate it.
Okay.
I didn't love it. I was half in the bag. I was half in the bag, so that might have helped.
Okay. Yeah.
But I will give it another shot, a sober shot. But I didn't hate it.
I wouldn't advise it.
But I will say this: Ellen Burstyn was wasted, in that role. They didn't need her.
Yeah.
The Exorcism.
I won't give it away. But the last 60 seconds, I'm like, did you really need to do that?
No, it was stupid.
Yeah.
And then the Exorcism itself was, compared to what we've seen in the first movie and even the unnecessary one in the third, it was pretty lame.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I didn't find the movie horrible. But then again, a 6-pack will change, the way you view things.
Everybody's
Williams on top of that. Yeah. All right. Yeah. This movie's not so bad. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so that wraps it up for us here. Thank you for joining us, those that were in the chat. I'm having a rough Christmas is come to a close. If you're out there, you catch this on a replay, Merry Christmas to everybody.
Absolutely.
Deck the halls, joyous Yuletide, goodwill towards men. And I'll be back tomorrow with a non-Christmas related thing. But my thanks to everybody. We're coming up on the end of the 3rd year here.
Mm-hmm.
And
when's the anniversary?
It's going to be sometime in January, I think. So probably about a month away from now. We're coming up on the 3rd year. We'll probably be at about 220 episodes around then. It's been quite a journey. So we'll definitely have to do an anniversary and get as many people as we can in.
Yeah. It's been a fun ride. Like, I know you started this with like people you knew personally, like John and Ryan and everybody, and you just kind of DM'd me one day, and it's cool that I'm now a part of this group. So it's been a fun ride, dude.
I'm glad to have you, man. Glad to have you. Mm-hmm. And branching out a little bit here and there as best you can with these. I think there are like 8 million podcasts out there.
Yeah.
So you're working in a saturated market, but
Eric, one day we'll have to meet you in person.
I don't know if I want to go to Jersey, so we'll see.
Yeah.
It's bad enough in Chicago.
Yeah, we feel the same way. We fucking live here.
Yeah.
So
your wife is coming over for dinner. Turkey.
We're showing up with a knife and fork in your pocket.
There you go.
So we just keep going. As long as we can talk about films like this, I'm good.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
Well, the thing is, that's the good thing about you being in charge. You can pick what you want to talk about. So
yeah.
You love film so much. I don't think you'll get tired of talking about movies, dude.
No, I think that was Bill's concern because he was like, "You're picking movies out of too fucking high end," and he's like, "You're going to run out of movies." I'm like, "Not for a long fucking time." You know, and so
how dare you pick quality?
It's easy enough to fucking talk about, Leprechaun 5 or, what I've seen some other channels discussing recently, and I'm just like,
you mean you don't want to talk about, you don't want to have like 25 videos on what might be happening in Scream 7? Yeah.
No, and
I can't believe there is a Scream
like even that fucking term, and I'm just gonna say that the final girl, like who's the final? Shut the fuck up. That's who the final. Shut the fuck up. That's her name. All right, that's her full fucking name. Huh?
What are you talking about?
Final girl is a term like in horror movies.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
People have shows, and it's just like the best final girl, and I'm like, how the fuck can you talk about this at all? But never mind. That's a whole other conversation. All right, hold on. We got one more comment. Then we're going to close it out. Mr. Dan says Jersey rules, Eric. Because we're not going to join you at Cabrini Green, Eric. All right, we're not going to fucking do that.
Well, the problem is, they closed down Cabrini Green in Chicago, and we got, where I live now. Well, I'm 5 minutes from like my hometown. We got about 70% of them. So
yeah.
So I'm going from there to Jersey. I don't know,
You're gonna be saying Candyman before long.
It's like which pile of shit is worse to step in? You know what I mean?
There you go. The truth is out.
And it's been nice to talk to Eric as always. Unfortunately, some technical difficulties prevent him from continuing on. Oh, gee, thanks for
there he is.
All right, everybody, have a good one. See you in the next video.
Cheers.
Later,